Namaste or Ekdum Bahia. Hello to all of you tuning in. Welcome back to Baatcheat.
Hello, everyone.
This is our third weekly get-together, our cheat sheet of conversations, really diving into the world of electric vehicles and batteries.
The electrifying world, you could say.
Exactly. And we're keeping our focus on China and India, two very different markets right now, but both incredibly important.
Absolutely. China's the current heavyweight, the champion in EVs and batteries.
No doubt. And India is just getting started, really, but the potential there is just massive, purely based on future demand.
Bickle. And our goal this time, like always, is to sift through the noise, the news from the past week, and just pull out the most crucial bits.
And deliver them, hopefully, in a way that feels more like a story, less like a dry report.
Right. So whether you're prepping for a meeting, just trying to get your head around this super fast-moving industry, or maybe you're just curious.
Which is great, too.
Yeah, we want to give you that quick, solid understanding of what's key in these two markets, without, getting bogged down in jargon.
Okay, let's dive into China first, because there's a really interesting shift happening in how they talk about driving tech.
Mm-hmm.
That whole autonomous driving buzz seems to be fading a bit, replaced more by talk of assisted driving.
Yeah.
What's behind that?
Well, it's really a mix of things. Primarily, you've got regulators stepping in more.
Right, increased scrutiny.
Exactly. And alongside that, a much bigger focus on safety, which is understandable.
Makes sense.
There was updated guidance from China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, MIIT, back on April 16th.
Okay.
And it was pretty clear. Stop with the misleading claims about full autonomy. Automakers now have to disclose system limits and the risks involved.
And you can't help but connect that to the terrible accident back in March, the Xiaomi SU7.
Yeah, that was tragic. 3 students died. The car was reportedly using its navigation on autopilot system, collision at 97-kilometer coast, apparently after driver warnings.
That kind of incident, it really forces everyone to take a hard look, doesn't it, at what these systems can and maybe more importantly can't do.
It absolutely does. If you look at the bigger picture, it really just highlighted this need for, more transparency, more responsibility.
So are we seeing actual changes from the car makers?
Oh, yeah. Tangible changes. Xiaomi, for instance. They've literally changed the wording on their SU7 ordering page. Autonomous driving is now assisted driving. They've even renamed the systems.
Okay, so real adjustments.
And it's not just Xiaomi. NIO, XPeng, Li Auto, Avatray, they're all kind of shifting their language in ads, in showrooms.
Focusing more on
L2 level assisted driving, where the car helps with steering, speed, things like that.
But the driver has to be fully engaged. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the road.
Precisely. Full supervision required. That's the message now.
It feels like the industry's hitting the brakes on the hype a little. I even saw XPeng introduce something called ADAS insurance.
That's right. Supplemental insurance. Which, kind of suggests they're acknowledging there are still risks, even with these advanced systems.
Yeah, it's an interesting signal.
And it wasn't just marketing adjustments. At the Shanghai Auto Show recently, you heard top executives talking about this. Huawei's Yu Chengdong, XPeng's He Xiaopeng.
What were they saying?
Basically acknowledging the need for clearer, more accurate information for the public. Xiaopeng himself, I read, has pretty much stopped using autonomous driving entirely. He prefers intelligent assisted driving.
Okay, so for you listening in, the big takeaway here seems to be that China's driver assist tech scene is moving into a more, let's say, cautious phase, more regulated.
I think that's fair. It's about accountability, managing consumer expectations, getting a more realistic understanding out there about what these systems can do today.
Yeah, a focus on safety and trust, which has to be paramount.
Definitely. The industry is grappling with the complexities. That's clear.
All right, let's stick with China, but shift to another giant, BYD. They've laid out some incredibly ambitious global sales targets.
Oh, yeah. Very ambitious.
They're aiming for 50% of their car sales to come from outside China by 2030. That seems like a massive leap from where they are now.
It is a huge leap. I mean, think about it. In 2024, they sold 4.27 million vehicles. Almost 90% of those were in China.
Wow, okay. So a huge domestic focus currently. Where are they planning to target this international growth?
Primarily Europe and Latin America. The U.S. market is, difficult for them to enter right now because of existing trade barriers.
Right, those tariffs are a big factor.
Right.
But even just focusing on Europe and Latin America, getting to 50% overseas, that's still a huge task. What makes them so confident?
I think a lot of it stems from their incredible growth within China. They've just exploded there with their affordable EVs and plug-in hybrids, their PHEVs.
And they made that big move a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
Stopped making pure petrol cars altogether.
That's right. March 2022, they went all in on NEVs, new energy vehicles, pure internal combustion engines. Done. Finished.
Bold move. And it seems to have paid off. Looking at their 2024 numbers, they're pretty stunning.
They really are. Over 4.27 million NEVs sold. That's up over 41% from the year before.
And the PHEVs really jumped.
Yeah, PHEVs are up nearly 73%. BEVs, the pure electrics, up about 12%. And even overseas sales, while a smaller base, saw a massive 71% jump, hitting over 417,000 units.
So the momentum is definitely there.
And they're not planning on slowing down. The chairman, Wang Xuanfu, he announced the 2025 target, 5.5 million total units.
5.5 million. Wow. And the overseas target for 2025?
Over 800,000. So doubling down on that international push.
And they've got multiple brands now, too, haven't they?
Right. BYD itself, Denza, Yangwang, Fangchengbao, covering different segments. And that momentum carried into this year. First 4 months of 2025, over 1.38 million NEVs sold, up almost 47% year on year.
Incredible trajectory. And they're building the logistics, too. Saw something about their own car carrier ship.
Yeah, the BYD Shenzhen, its maiden voyage was just in April. Sailed off with over 7,000 NEVs headed for Brazil.
That really shows commitment, building your own shipping capacity.
It absolutely does. It signals they're serious about establishing a major global presence.
Okay, sticking with BYD, but changing topics slightly. News about their lithium plans in Chile. Scaling back. Chile's obviously a huge lithium producer.
Right, second largest in the world. And yes, this is interesting because it shows how volatile the raw materials market is. BYD has withdrawn plans for a lithium cathode plant there.
Why the change of heart?
It seems to be directly linked to the big drop in lithium prices. Another Chinese company, Tsingshan, made a similar move. The prolonged slump just makes these big investments less attractive right now.
And BYD filed to withdraw back in January.
That's right, January 2025.
This wasn't a small project either.
Yeah.
I remember it was like $290 million investment.
Yeah, substantial, aiming for 50,000 tons of LFP cathode material annually. The project was already facing some delays, too.
And the lithium price swing has been wild, hasn't it?
Absolutely dramatic. Between 2020 and late 2022, prices in China just rocketed. Battery-grade lithium carbonate hit, almost RMB 600,000 a ton?
Crazy numbers.
And now it's trading below RMB 70,000 per ton. A massive plunge. So you can see why building a huge new processing plant might seem less appealing in this climate.
Definitely changes the economics, even though BYD had secured some advantages there earlier, like a mining contract and preferential pricing.
They did. They got a mining contract in early 2022 and locked in some preferential prices in April 2023. But it seems the current market reality just outweighs those benefits for this specific project.
Do they have other lithium sources?
Yeah, it's worth noting they do hold lithium mining rights in Brazil, so they haven't given up on securing raw materials, maybe just shifting focus geographically for now.
Okay, let's pivot to the broader Chinese EV market numbers. We've got April 2025 data. Still growing, but maybe not quite as explosively as March.
That's a good way to put it. Overall, NEV retail sales in China hit 905,000 units in April. That's still up a very healthy 33.9% compared to April last year.
But down a bit from March.
Yeah, down 8.7% from March's very strong numbers. But here's the really big headline. NEV retail penetration reached 51.5% in April.
Wow, over half.
For the second month in a row, NEVs outsold traditional gasoline cars at the retail level. That's a major, major milestone.
Absolutely is. More electric than gasoline cars being bought by consumers. How did the different types break down? BEVs still leading?
BEVs, the pure battery electrics, yeah, they had the biggest share. 559,000 units sold, up 38% year on year. Though, like the total, down a bit month on month.
And PHEVs.
Plug-in hybrids, excluding the extended range ones, sold 260,000, up 25.6% year on year, also down slightly from March.
What about those extended range ones, the ERVs?
Interestingly, they actually grew both year on year and month on month. Hit 86,000 units, up over 32% from last year.
Interesting divergence there. And who's buying these NEVs mostly? Still the local brands dominate.
Oh, absolutely. The retail penetration rate for local Chinese brands was a massive 72.8%.
72.8.
Compare that to luxury brands at 23.5% in EV penetration and the mainstream joint venture brands, just 6.8%.
Really highlights the strength of the domestic players in the EV space there.
No question.
What about wholesale numbers and exports? Still strong.
Yeah, wholesale passenger NEV sales were 1.133 million in April, up over 40% year-on-year. Penetration hit a record 51.7% at the wholesale level.
And exports.
Also very strong, 189,000 passenger NEVs exported in April, up over 44% year-on-year. That accounted for almost 45% of all passenger car exports from China.
So China's becoming a massive EV exporter, too.
Clearly.
We also get a quick look at the weekly insurance registration data ending May 4th. Anything jump out there?
Well, insurance rigs give you that immediate snapshot of deliveries. For that week, NIO was around 3,470, Tesla about 7,290, and BYD way up at 59,310.
Big number for BYD.
Huge. But it's important to remember, these numbers were generally down compared to previous weeks, likely because of the Labor Day holiday in China, May 1st to 5th. That usually slows down deliveries and registrations for a bit.
Right. Holiday impact. Makes sense. We also have some numbers for Chinese EV registrations in Germany for April. Sounds like a mixed picture.
It is a bit mixed. The overall German car market was pretty stable, but BEV registrations there actually jumped significantly, up over 53%.
Okay, so strong BEV growth in Germany. How did the Chinese brands fare?
MG led the pack among the Chinese brands with 1,747 registrations, up a solid 34% year-on-year.
Good showing for MG.
BYD had a really remarkable month there, 1,566 registrations. That's up a staggering 756% compared to last April, their best month in Germany since August 2023.
Wow, 756%. What about the others?
Leapmotor registered 314 units, notable because they had 0 registrations there last April. XPeng was up slightly month-on-month to 207. NIO, however, only 19 registrations.
Only 19.
Yeah, down 64% year-on-year. For comparison, Tesla's registrations in Germany were also down significantly by about 46%.
Interesting. So real winners like BYD, steady performers like MG, and then NIO struggling a bit in April there. Any thoughts on why?
Well, it suggests different strategies are having different levels of success. Consumer acceptance varies. And you mentioned those EU import duties earlier. They seem to have hit SINC's MG hardest.
Right, and NIO.
Yeah.
It's kind of striking that they apparently have 20 battery swap stations in Germany, but only sold 19 cars there in April.
It certainly raises questions about their current approach to that market. It really just underscores the diverse challenges and strategies these Chinese EV makers are using as they push into Europe. It's a tough, competitive market.
Definitely. Okay, let's switch gears to a tech topic. Ultra-fast charging. We hear 2025 is supposed to be the year of the ultra-fast charging explosion. Sounds great for convenience, but is there a catch?
That's a really important question. Ultra-fast charging, tackles range anxiety, makes things quicker. But yeah, there are growing concerns about what it might do to the battery's long-term health, its lifespan.
People kind of instinctively feel like blasting power into a battery really fast might not be the best thing for it long-term.
And some research backs that up. There were findings, I think, from Tsinghua University suggesting that frequent ultra-fast charging, say above 120 kilowatt, could significantly reduce the battery's cycle life.
How significant?
Potentially up to a 40% reduction compared to using slower charging methods more often.
40%? That's huge, especially when you think about battery warranties.
Exactly. The typical warranty in China is around 8 years or 120,000 kilometers. So if ultra-fast charging speeds up degradation that much, it's a real worry for owners.
And those lifetime warranties some offer, are they a solution?
Well, they often come with very specific conditions, lots of fine print, things that could actually limit coverage if you're someone who relies heavily on ultra-fast charging all the time.
So you might void your lifetime warranty without realizing it.
It's possible, and what's also a bit concerning is that surveys show only about 23% of EV owners actually feel they fully understand their battery warranty details.
Okay, so it's crucial for people to be aware of this trade-off. Convenience now versus potential battery life later. What's the industry doing about it? Can they mitigate this degradation?
They're definitely working on it. Better thermal management systems are key, keeping the battery cool during those high power sessions.
Right. Heat is the enemy.
And the battery management system, the BMS, that's getting smarter. They're developing ultra-charging protection modes that can adjust the charging power based on the battery's condition, its temperature, state of charge.
So the car itself tries to protect the battery.
Essentially, yeah. And the charging stations themselves are getting smarter too, optimizing the process to minimize stress.
What's the advice then for EV owners who have access to ultra-fast charging?
General expert advice seems to be use it when you need it, but maybe don't rely on it for every single charge. Try to limit ultra-fast charging to less than, say, 40% of your charging sessions.
Right.
And try to avoid using ultra-fast methods when the battery's very low, like below 10%, or when it's nearly full, above 90%. Those extremes can be harder on the battery during high-speed charging.
So a balanced approach. Use it for convenience on road trips, maybe, but stick to slower charging at home or work when possible.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between convenience and maximizing the long-term health and value of your battery.
Got it. Now, for something completely different, flying cars. XPeng Aero, they seem to be making actual progress.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting stuff. It feels less like science fiction these days.
What's the latest milestone?
So XPeng Aero's application for a production certificate, specifically for the flying part of their land aircraft carrier concept, that application has been officially accepted by the Civil Aviation Administration of China, the CAAC.
Okay, what does that mean, practically?
Means the CAAC is now starting the formal review of XPeng's mass production system. It's a critical step towards actually being able to build and sell these things commercially.
And the land aircraft carrier is that modular one, right? The car part and the separate drone-like flying part.
That's the one. The flying body is called the X3F, and it docks with a ground vehicle that also acts as its charger.
Cool concept.
The type certificate application for the flying part itself that focuses on the design and safety that was accepted back in March 2024. Now it's in the compliance confirmation phase.
So things are moving along. What's their target for getting these to market?
They've publicly stated a pretty ambitious goal. Start mass production and deliveries in 2026.
2026, that's really soon. Are they building factories?
They are. Their flying car manufacturing base is reportedly 70% complete already, aiming for full completion by the end of this year, Q4 2025.
Wow. Still feels like there must be a lot of regulatory hoops to jump through before we see these flying around cities, though.
Oh, absolutely. Getting the production certificate is just one piece. Think about EHang, another player in this space. After the type certificate and production certificate, they still need the airworthiness certificate for each individual aircraft.
Proving each one is safe to fly.
Right. And then the air operator certificate, which actually allows them to run commercial flight services. So, yes, significant progress, but still a journey ahead on the regulatory front.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Lastly, on China, let's quickly touch on XPeng again, but their car sales. Strong performance recently.
Very strong. They're reporting Q1 earnings on May 21st, but the delivery numbers already out are impressive.
How impressive?
Q1 2025, they delivered just over 94,000 vehicles. That's up a massive 330% compared to Q1 last year.
330%.
And it actually beat the top end of their own guidance. April was strong too. 35,045 vehicles delivered, their second best month ever.
So the momentum is real.
Yeah. First 4 months of 2025, they're over 129,000 deliveries, up over 313% year on year. It's the kind of growth that really makes the industry take notice.
And the outlook for the rest of the year.
Their CEO, He Xiaoping, sounds confident. He's aiming to double 2025's total deliveries compared to 2024.
Which would put them around.
Roughly 380,000 vehicles for the full year. That's the target.
And they're launching new stuff, too.
Seems so. Expected to launch a max version of their Mona MO3 sedan later this month, with better smart driving features. And then next month, they're teasing a debut of a completely new electric sedan, codenamed E29.
So pushing hard on sales growth and new products. Busy times for XPeng.
Very busy, yes. Trying to capture a bigger slice of that booming market.
Okay, let's switch continents now. Let's head over to India and check in on their electric four-wheeler market. We've got April 2025 sales data. What's the headline there?
The big headline is that April 2025 was actually the best ever first month of a financial year for the Indian electric four-wheeler segment.
Oh, interesting. Best start to a financial year ever. What were the numbers?
Total sales were 12,330 units. That represents a really substantial 58% growth compared to April of last year.
58% growth. That's fantastic. Shows real momentum building in India.
It really does. Increasing adoption is clear.
Who were the main players leading that growth in April?
Well, Tata Motors held on to the top spot with 4,461 units sold, although interestingly, their sales were actually down 14% year on year.
Okay. Leader, but with a dip. Who was second?
JSW MG Motors had a very strong showing. They came in second with 3,488 units. That's a huge 175% year-on-year growth for them.
175%. What's driving that for MG?
A lot of it is likely the popularity of their MG Windsor EV. Seems to be hitting the mark.
Okay. And third place?
Mahindra and Mahindra. They actually had their best ever monthly sales for EVs, 3,002 units. That's a massive 348% jump compared to last April.
348. Mahindra's really accelerating then. Driven by which models?
Models like their BE6 and the XEV9e seem to be key drivers for them.
Got it. Who else is in the mix?
Hyundai Motors came in fourth with 686 units, still smaller volume, but that represents an incredible 654% year-on-year growth, likely building anticipation for their Creta electric.
654%. Wow. And BYD?
BYD India was fifth with 350 units. Again, smaller base, but still showing very significant growth, up 123% year-on-year.
So Tata's leading, but saw a dip, while MG and Mahindra are showing explosive growth. Hyundai and BYD growing fast from a smaller base. That's quite dynamic.
It really is. And if you look at the top three, Tata, MG, and Mahindra together, they accounted for 88% of all the electric four-wheelers sold in April. So they're really dominating the market share right now.
That's a huge chunk. Right. But the decline for Tata, even while leading, should they be concerned, or is it just a blip?
That's the key question, isn't it? It could signal tougher competition. Maybe consumers are getting excited by newer models from MG and Mahindra. It's definitely something to watch closely.
Yeah, the growth from MG and Mahindra suggests their newer offerings are really connecting.
Seems that way. The Windsor EV, Mahindra's expanding BE line, They seem to be hitting a sweet spot. It's worth noting, though, pretty much all the major brands saw a dip month on month compared to March.
Ah, okay. Why would that be?
It's likely just the typical slowdown after the end of the financial year in March. March often sees a push to close sales targets. But the strong year-on-year growth across the board really shows the overall market is expanding nicely.
Okay, that context helps. And looking ahead, it sounds like this Indian EV market is set for even more action. Lots of new models coming.
Oh, absolutely. The expectation is for significant growth through the rest of 2025 and into 2026. We're expecting a whole wave of new launches.
Like what? Any highlights?
So from Tata, we're expecting the Harrier EV and the Sierra EV, expanding their electric SUV range. Kia is likely entering the EV space with the Karen's EV.
Okay.
MG is planning to bring in the Cyberster, that electric roadster. VinFast is expected with their VF6 SUV. Toyota's planning an electric version of the urban cruiser.
So the Japanese getting more involved too.
Yeah, Skoda's bringing their premium Enyaq. Mahindra's got the XEV7e and an electric version of the popular XUV3 XO coming, and Hyundai's expected to launch the Ioniq 6 sedan.
Wow, that's quite a lineup. It covers a lot of different segments and price points.
Exactly. The expected prices range from maybe 14 lakhs up to 60 lakhs or more, and driving ranges from around 375 kilometers up to potentially over 600 kilometers on some models.
So much more choice for Indian buyers soon.
Definitely. More competition, catering to both budget-conscious buyers and those looking for premium features. It's going to get very interesting.
You mentioned the MG Windsor EV earlier. There's a new Pro version, right? Tell us a bit more about that one.
Right. The MG Windsor EV Pro. It's a significant upgrade. The main thing is a larger battery pack, 52.9 kilowatters.
And what does that mean for range?
The expected WLTP range is between 470 and 500 kilometers. Realistically, that probably translates to around 400 kilometers in real-world Indian driving conditions. Still a very usable range.
Decent bump. Any performance upgrades?
Yeah, power's up a bit too. 134 bhp, 200 nanometers of torque. Should make it feel a bit punchier to drive.
And features. Tech.
Get some nice upgrades there too. Ventilated front seats, great for the Indian climate. A bigger 12.3-inch infotainment screen. Digital driver display, ambient lighting, wireless phone charging.
Sounds pretty well equipped.
And it also gets vehicle-to-load, V2L, and even vehicle-to-vehicle V2V power sharing. So you can power appliances or even help charge another EV.
Oh, that's handy. V2L is becoming popular. What about safety tech? ADS.
Yes. Importantly, it comes with Level 2 ADS features as standard. Things like adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist. That's a big plus.
So MG is packing more range and tech into this Pro version. How does it stack up against key rivals, like the Tata Curve EV or the upcoming Hyundai Creta Electric?
Good comparison. So the Tata Curve EV, especially if it comes with that rumored larger 55 kilowatt battery, might offer the best maximum range of the three.
Okay, curve for range, potentially.
The Hyundai Creta Electric is likely to be positioned as maybe the most versatile, possibly offering 2 battery options and focusing on premium features, maybe like a 360-degree camera.
Krita for options and
Or
features.
in the MG Windsor EV Pro, its strength could be value, especially if they offer it with that battery as a service BaaS option. It could be the most budget-friendly entry point among these three, while still giving you good range in that standard level 2 ADS.
So, Curvy for max range, Krita for versatility and features, MG Windsor Pro potentially for value and standard ADS.
Essentially, yeah. It really highlights how competitive that mid-size electric SUV segment is becoming in India. Buyers will have distinct choices based on what they prioritize most: range, features, or price.
It really is an exciting time, following both China with its sheer scale and innovation and India with its rapid growth and huge potential.
Absolutely. Two very different stories unfolding, but both incredibly important for the future of EVs globally.
Well, that does bring us towards the end of our third deep dive conversation here on Baatcheat. A huge thank you for tuning in and joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
We really hope this cheap sheet, this conversation, gave you some clear, useful insights into the key happenings in China and India's EV and battery world over the last week or so.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful.
We genuinely love hearing from you, so if you have any thoughts, feedback, or follow-up questions, please do reach out. Let us know what you think.
I do appreciate the feedback.
And definitely make sure you join us again next week for another round of Baatcheat, keeping you plugged into the conversation shaping the future of electric mobility.
Indeed. The pace of change is just relentless in these markets. It's fascinating to watch, and we'll keep bringing you the highlights. Stay curious.